Hello and welcome to this beautiful talk. I'm Bahati Hilda Sobiti, and this is my experience about COVID-19. I've experienced it under so many umbrellas as a mother who is on maternity leave and an essential worker who has to still go to office 3 days a week, 7 hours a day. Yes, and as a media personality and media administrator, and then as a relationship coach and marriage therapist. So those are my umbrellas. Now, first, how I experienced it was the first panic and the shock that was ripping through the different countries and coming to our country, and then having to have the panic in different homes. In my home, definitely it was the panic of, how are we going to stock up the food? How are we going to go about the children? How is everyone actually reacting to this kind of shock and this news, and understanding each other, pretty much making the rules of engagement, changing the rules of engagement, the children being back from school suddenly, and then having more time at home all of a sudden, and being a household of many people. So we had to have the ground rules, how we are going to operate, who does what, who is emotionally affected, we had to go into those nitty-gritties and just be open about it, which has really, really helped my homestead to actually walk through this without any fear and without being shaken. Now, definitely we go into the lockdown, and then being an essential worker, I have to come to work. I have to go to different places, infectious disease institute for interviews, talking to different doctors, talking to epidemiologists, talking to different, having health talks here and there about what is really happening, what the virus is about, how do we stop it, how do we help ourselves and help our communities, and all those things. It has widened my knowledge, and one thing that I can say for sure, the best is to immunize yourself with the right information. It's like a virus. When you have the right information, it goes against, it fights the bad, the wrong information, the myths, the theories that are going around. When you have the right information from the right sources, from the right people, because we have social media and everyone is saying anything on the social media, from the 5G to Jesus is coming back, and then the virus does not actually exist. Governments are just eating money. There are a lot of myths that people, and a lot of theories that people have been throwing around, and then a lot of remedies that people have been throwing around. And if you read everything and take in everything, and then we have had a social media outburst of the virtual meetings and people saying everything, going live, because we have been enabled by these social media platforms. So everyone has a platform to say something. Now it's your choice, and it has been my choice to be very, very selective who I listen to, what I listen to, how I digest it, and how I take what is useful and leave everything that is not useful to me. So my experience has actually been researching and finding ways how people can get more hope, can get motivated, and that I have been able to do through my social media platforms, through my TV programs, and all those things. But we need hope more than we've ever needed hope, and people need to know that it's going to be okay, even when it's going to be different, because we went to bed in a different world and we woke up in a different world, and all of a sudden there is a new normal, and we must prepare ourselves for the new normal. So I have taken all this time researching, listening, and getting the information from the right sources to be able to equip the people out there with the right information, or how to be able to consolidate themselves. And I think the main conversation that we should be having right now is the how. How do we bounce back from this? Yes, at some point the lockdowns will be lifted, and it's about, because we are in the phase 1 of lifting the lockdown, and the governments are anticipating that there is going to be an upsurge of infections, and they're preparing their hospitals, they're preparing the medical practitioners to be able to handle the overwhelming numbers, just in case the curves go very high, and there's an overwhelming amount of infections. But what does that mean for everyone else? During this lockdown, you should be able to think, because after the lockdown has been lifted, that means people are going back to work. Now, the workspace is no longer the same. The offices are no longer the same, because according to the workspace and social distancing rules, it's not going to be the same arena anymore. That means you have to work half, or you have to have worked home some days, and some people have to be at home. That means that it's not going to be a full office anymore. For those of you that travel, it's not going to be a full board, flight anymore. For you that go to schools, the rules of engagement are going to change. Going to restaurants, the rules of engagement are going to change. Even the apparatus is used, and the PPE, when you go to salons, when you go to schools, when you go to restaurants, there is a lot of tension that is going to be in the air. But what has been affected the most, number one, is the fear that has engulfed the hearts of people, and number two, people's pockets have been deeply wounded, and the economic status is really appalling. And that is where I'm saying that we need to plan. Once this has been lifted, how do you go back into the workspace? Do you even have a workspace that you have gone back into? That's why I've been telling people that, take care. Do not buy things that you do not need at this point. If there is money that you have, save it. Don't even over-invest in things that you are not so sure about, because the stock's about to crash, and there's so many things that we could talk about. But take care of yourself. Think about how this is going to be. We are coming from one low-key lockdown, and we are getting into a very bad time, because this time is when we are low. I mean, the lockdown has been lifted, and we are back into the world. The social gatherings no more, the churches no more, and that means we are getting into the virtual spaces that are going to be so crowded and cluttered. That means that if you're a brand, your concept and your content must have the laser target and focus to be able to cut through whatever clutter there is out there. And being a media personality and a media administrator, I'm getting into a time where I will be hiring, but hiring what? Hiring internet users, people that are skilled in internet. So this is time to actually upskill, to learn. Remember, we are preparing for the how do we come back to a new normal that we are not used to. That means I'll be hiring what? I'll be hiring editors, I'll be hiring camera crew, I'll be hiring the people that have taken time to prepare themselves, and I'll be hiring graphic designers, I'll be hiring. So those are the people. The such jobs right now are the future of, I would say, earning. If you don't have a skill, then you have nothing to offer. If you have a skill, then everyone, every company, and every personality is going to look up to you to make sure that you make their lives easy. The media is going to sell like hot cake. So there's a lot that could be happening, but prepare for the how. The first foot that we've put into the world should not be a foot of everyone is running to get a divorce. No. That is very small. You can deal with your relationship issues. It should not be a foot of what's happening? Do we have elections? No. The first foot should be, how do we bounce back, and how do we venture into the uncertainty of the world that is unknown to us and make it a new normal and get used to it, because it's going to be with us for a long time. So we have to learn how to work, how to live, and how to love with COVID present, because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. For the next 2 years, it's going to be the how to bounce back and get back to the new normal.